All right, then. Are we live? And we are live. Or more precisely, we are Venom. In this case, particularly, welcome all my followers of darkness, shadow scavengers, and villainy aficionados. Welcome to another live review. I'm your host, like always, Lord of Shadows, and this time I'm going to do a movie which, just from the intro itself, I believe you guys kind of get the idea what I'm going to talk about. Yes, it's going to be about the final film of the Venom trilogy, Venom the Last Dance. Yep. And also, indeed, like the final movie where we're going to see Tom Hardy as Eddie Brooke. All of the way how the movie ended, especially with the post credit scene, you know, there may be some like light at the end of the tunnel, where this like possibly can go. But anyway, let's go step by step. Overall, Venom: The Last Dance. Now, if you didn't watch the movie, basically the premise is this. If you have followed like all the Venom movies, you know that like from the second one, Eddie Brooke and Venom, they're still hunted down, by the government, by the police, army, etc., etc. But this time in this movie, they're hunted down by not simply by, let's just say, the military or the law, but they're also hunted down by, how can I put this, by Venom's kind, or more precisely, by Venom's creator, the god symbiote himself, Knoll. I mean, first and foremost, I just want to say, like, when they decided to have Knoll in this movie, I was like, what? I was like, no, there's no fucking way. I mean, I get the idea if you're gonna bring other symbiotes, kind of like, just like, Riot and Carnage, to kind of like, make them like this, like villains for Venom. But I was like, no, like, really? Like this guy's like too big to have it in a movie, But I do have to admit, like they used them pretty well. Anyway, so Eddie Brock and Venom, they're hunted down by both kinds, human and symbiotes, and now they're gonna have to do whatever it takes, to try to survive one last time. Which of course, is why the movie's called The Last Dance. Now, first and foremost, like, let me just try to say like a little bit of my experience about the Venom movies. Like, every single Venom movie that came out, like from the first one to the second one, I honestly didn't had big expectations. The only thing I ever wanted was simply, a pure super fun time at the theater, and that's basically what I got from the first one and the second one. Now, the first one for me was kind of like, interesting introduction, not simply to Tom Hardy as Eddie Brooke, but also like, to Venom, the overall world building and everything. I had fun with it, but like so far my favorite one was always the third one. Seeing like, Carnage versus Venom, like, first and foremost, it's like one of the fan wishes coming true, and I felt like the second one for me at least was stronger than the first one. And now of course, we go to Venom: The Last Dance, the third one. Overall, as a movie itself, I would say that it lands. I mean, okay, as the finale of the trilogy, I will say this: it's not a perfect landing. I will say this: it didn't quite stick to the landing, but I still thought it was a satisfying conclusion to the Venom trilogy. I thought like overall, this movie, I thought it was like again, super fun time. He had an interesting beat. He had an interesting also story. Although the story itself was a little bit like very a little bit simple, but overall I felt like the story was overall, like I said, interesting. The action sequence was absolutely phenomenal, like always. And so overall, if someone would ask me like did the movie stick the landing, well, I would say it's not a perfect landing, but it still holds to a satisfying conclusion to the Venom trilogy. But most of all, primarily, like I said, it's a super fun time at the theater. Don't try to expect like a blockbuster, masterpiece of a movie. Don't try to expect like a Godfather, Titanic level story. No, it's just a simple anti-villain superhero, super fun time at the theater. That's what basically the Venom: The Last Dance is. Just like the other two. However, now going back to like the main thing, of course, the main thing that, of course, we can all agree that drew this movie, that was kind of like not drew this movie, but like was also the heart of this movie, is of course Tom Hardy as Eddie Brooke / Venom. More precisely, the relationship between Eddie Brooke and Venom. You know, this is like literally like in every single one of them. Like that's literally the heart of the movie. And really, like if you don't have a lot of things that you will not find interesting in this movie, at least the one thing that can drive you to watch this movie is literally Eddie Brooke and Venom and their crazy, relationship. Not to mention, adventures and all. And I think, like, that's like, if I had to like start with positives, I would say like definitely that is like my most like primal, well, not like the prime part of my, like, let's say positives. Like Eddie Brooke and Venom, in their relationship, they still stick to the landing, just like in the first two. I love, like, their relationship, from like, what is good, what is bad, the comedy shenanigans, to like, action sequences, and I would say this, like, which kind of lacked a little bit in the first two, but like in this one, we also find out, which I thought was like kind of added to the relationship, is that, what I also found is that there were also some emotional moments between Eddie Brooke and Venom in this one. I mean, we had some emotional moments like in the first two, but in this one, actually, there's a lot of them. Especially like towards the end, towards like the finale of the movie. So like, I felt like, that also kind of like was actually a great addition to the overall relationship between Eddie Brooke and Venom. And again, like, so, besides that, again, Tom Hardy, the guy is great. Like, he gave another great performance as Eddie Brooke, slash Venom. I really have no critics about that. Like, from like the sarcasm, from like being scared as shit, like, to be being hilarious, even serious. Like, Tom Hardy fucking delivers as Eddie Brooke slash Venom. Now, of course, besides him, we also had like other characters. Like, we had like man, I mean, I know him as a Baron Carl Mordo, and he was like the voice of Scar. I always butcher the guy's name, but like he played this like military guy, Rex Strickland, who is kind of like this like very generic, typical, like, military character, where like, whatever is something new and unknown, he, I will destroy it for the sake of humanity, like, without questions at all. Then, of course, on the other side, you have also the two scientists, like Teddy Payne and the Christmas lady. Basically, like, kind of like I said, the opposite of this like military guy, and basically saying, no, 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 we don't have to destroy them. We need to study, the symbiotes, like, to understand where they come from. Are they friendly? Are they not? How we can use them? Basically not, basically, like, headbutting, each other, throughout the entire movie. So you have like this other, characters. Then, of course, like, there are other characters like I always butcher the guy's name, like, who played the Lizard in Amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man No Way Home. Rise Ifans, I think that's his name. He played this kind of like hippie alien enthusiast, like, kind of character, which I felt like, at first, like, of all the characters that were in it. Okay, let me be frank. Of all the characters that were in it, I thought like Rise Ifan's character and his family, I think like that's the only part I thought like I would personally say uh like were unnecessary. I mean, sure, like, they use them kind of like, to deepen the relationship between, of like Eddie Brooke and Venom, and also Eddie Brooke's character himself and all that. I mean, I get it, but I felt like throughout the entire story, I felt like they were like a little bit like, unnecessary to the overall story. But again, and now, of course, one of the things I also have to mention is that when you go see a Venom movie, don't expect too much character development. I mean, there were like I said, they could have done something with this Strickland guy, or like the scientist Teddy Payne. Especially like, when they show the backstory, like at the very beginning, like between her and her brother, and what happened to him and everything. They could have, like, I mean, this type of movie, they kind of give you just enough information to kind of get you the idea of, like, where this is going, or what kind of a character she or he is, and everything. But overall, besides, like I said, besides Rise Ifan's character and his family, I felt like, every single other character, I felt like they were interesting, and they kind of serve their purpose in the overall story. I'll give them that. So again, Rise Ifan's story, right? Rise Ifan's character alongside his family, I felt like, I still think like, they are quite unnecessary. They were quite unnecessary for the story, but overall, I get it why they did it, but like, but like that's kind of like my first negative overall. Now, the one thing I love about this movie is that, first and foremost, speaking of like of symbiotes, now, one of the things I was, like I said, I was deeply surprised is they introduced Knoll in this movie, the fucking god symbiote, the creator of symbiotes like Venom, Riot, Carnage, Scream, and Toxic, and Toxin, and so on and so forth. I was really surprised they introduced him in this movie, because again, he is like a Thanos level villain, like I think he's the one of those villains that you kind of create this kind of like this big build up, to it. Like, he's the type of villain that you will use like this, like, final challenge, like a final villain at the end and everything, like, for example, if they were trying to create like a symbiote war type of storyline, then, like the Knoll would be kind of like the final boss. So it was like really interested, like how they're going to use him. How they're going to use it, because like Knoll is not that type of character who just simply you can just throw at the end where he's going to go like face to face with Venom, which by the way didn't happen, thank God. But like you can't just simply use him like that, but still I like the way how they use him. Again, I don't want to go deeper into the spoilers and everything, but like I still liked the way how they used him, like again, they didn't give him too much to do. But like, one thing I'm gonna show you, he had way more. He had more than one appearance in the movie. I can tell you this, like, his overall shadow, his overall dark symbiote energy is like all over the movie. Like everything that was happening, it was basically part of his, let's just say, evil architecture. Let's put it that way. So Knoll is visible throughout the entire movie. And again, I was kind of like curious, because I've seen some of my friends like saying that they didn't like how they used him. They wanted more of him. But think about it. Like, first and foremost, like Knoll, like I said, he is a big character, a big character, almost like I say, he is like a god. He's not like an ordinary supervillain that you can use, in and out, and that's it. And of course, I get him, like why they wanted to see more of him. But the way how they use him in the story, it actually fits, like, the overall backstory they gave him, at the beginning. First and foremost, I just want to say, spoiler alert, the first ever scene of the movie is with Knoll. I'm not going into details, like why and what, but like I will say this, like I really like the how they used him, like basically by just simply throwing the backstory, to the audience, kind of like explaining why he is in this situation where he was, which kind of involves prison, throne, and liberation, and what he needs to get liberated and everything, to get free and all. So I really like, how they like easily put it, like they explained Knoll, and why, he's in the movie. But besides that, I really like the way how they used him. For me personally, I felt like the usage of him was satisfying, and the way how the mid-credit scene was with him. Now I'm kind of curious, because I've heard some like plans of like, of like people that like they did this on purpose because they want to use Knoll somewhere in the future. Some people even said that like they want to use him in the MCU, and I'm really wondering how the hell they're gonna do that. Unless they have some like Secret Wars plan in which they just simply gonna go, like throw him like in it, like basically somehow he entered the main universe or something. I don't know, but overall I liked what I got from Knoll. I had no complaints about that. They used him as much as they could. I had no complaints about that. And also Andy Serkis, I just want to say, the guy who directed Venom, Let There Be Carnage, now he's playing Knoll. And from the overall, CGI / voice performance that he gave, I would say he made Knoll look terrifying. He made Knoll like actually look menacing, And so, I appreciate Andy Serkis's performance, for Knoll, for what we got and everything, So besides that, one of the other things I love about it is that we got a lot of symbiotes in this one. A lot of symbiotes. And also we got, like, one of the things I love is like how they explored the symbiotes in this one, like again, I don't want to go into certain details, but like I like the overall explanation, like the connection to Venom, to like Knoll, and like the overall purpose, like what they wanted, why they're on Earth, and everything. I really like that overall part of the movie, the way how they explain it and all and everything. So that's one of the things I love. And also, again, it's a little spoiler, but like I really liked the fight in the end. Where you have like not simply Venom going up against the creatures that Knoll sent to Earth, but like you have like many different like symbiotes, helping him, to fight, these creatures, at the very end, like oh my god, like that was like a really like a very like a that was literally like a geek like feast for the eyes, at least for me, to see like multiple symbiotes. Now, one of the things I will say this is I think like it's the strength of this movie, besides Eddie Brooke and Venom, is the humor. Like when it comes to the overall humor, they don't miss a beat. I mean, sure, like some of the humor worked more, some of the humor worked less. Again, but at least like even for the humor in this movie that for some people didn't work, at least you can get a little giggle out of it. Because I don't think they were like so awful, like jokes and everything. No, it was some, like I said, some of them were strong, some of them were like weak, but even like for those weak jokes, you can get, like I said, a little giggle, out of it, And I felt like, even with that, I think like that's a success. Now, one of my most favorite moments in this movie. Now, I will say this, like, I was really kind of one of the negatives I have for this movie. It's a real shame they didn't kept that moment on the plane where he winked to the passenger, like when Venom winked to the passenger. I felt like it's such a shame they didn't use that, in the final cut. Basically, that's one thing. I love that. And one of the things I love about that plane as well, I love like I love that joke that Eddie Brooke made about Tom Cruise. Oh my god, like the stunt thing. Oh my god, that was funny. That was really hilarious. But one of the things I will say, if I have to choose like one of my favorite scenes of this movie, it is definitely in the casino where you have Eddie Brooke slash and Venom kind of like gambling a little bit and everything, and then of course that dance sequence with Miss Chan. Oh my god, that was hilarious. That was hilarious. I mean, seeing her dance with Venom, I was like, oh my god, like that was like at first I was like, what the fuck? But then later on, I was like, it's fucking hilarious. It's fucking hilarious. I mean, I felt like I literally felt like in the second movie, I thought it was like funny to see like Venom like partying with like all those young people like in that underworld disco in the second movie, and I felt like this was like the funniest thing when it comes to Venom. But this scene alone like beats that scene from the second movie. Like seeing that like Mrs. Chen fighting with Venom, that was freaking hilarious. And so far is my favorite part of the movie. Now, like I said, I don't want to go into like too many spoilers, but like if some people might wonder like how this movie ends, I would say it has like a bittersweet ending, because like just like the title says, The Last Dance, which means kind of like the final time we're gonna see Eddie Brooke and Venom together and everything, and the way how they did it, especially like that kind of like one last time thing, or should I say moment, with like basically Venom like sacrificing himself, trying to save Eddie Brooke and everyone else in the area 55, let's put it that way, basically by throwing trying to stop those creatures and everything, because like oh my god, like those creatures that Knoll sent, which are kind of like symbiote hunters or slash bounty hunters. Oh my god, like these creatures are undefeatable. Jesus, like you blow them into pieces and they can stick and then they can just simply stick themselves together like it was nothing. I was like, bloody hell, what the hell can kill these motherfuckers? And in the end, Venom did it. He sacrificed himself by throwing all that toxic waste on himself, alongside the creatures, and of course in the end blew himself up, and it was kind of like a very touching moment. That was very touching, because like I said, one of the strongest things about in these movies is the relationship between Venom and Eddie Brooke, and I felt like that part of that, the sacrifice moment. I felt like it was a very, it was like a very strong emotional moment between those two. You know, so that's why I would say like the overall conclusion is, that this movie has is kind of like a bittersweet ending. And again, being like Tom Hardy's final movie as Eddie Brooke, you kind of like, expect like something tragic a little bit, will happen, in this movie. But the way is still like, how they delivered, I thought like, was, pretty satisfying, in an emotional way, so to speak. You know. Anyway, like I said, the and again, action sequences in this movie, again, they don't miss a beat, just like in the first two. Was great from the very first scene in that dog cage place, with those like criminals who basically train dogs, to fight and everything. From that point all the way to like the finale between like Venom and the other symbiotes fighting those creatures. Like I like when it comes to action sequences, they don't miss a beat at all. Now, other things I have to praise them is the CGI. The CGI, especially on those creatures, on Venom as well, I felt like it was like spot on, really spot on. Now, I heard some people saying that even Knoll was actually CGI, like full on CGI, but there was someone, especially when he bowed his head, when you just simply see a little bit of his face and also more like of his hair, I felt like that was actually makeup, but no, it was actually CGI, and I felt like wow. I kind of got the idea, the entire place where he was imprisoned. I knew that like this was like overall CGI, but but Knoll himself, wow. I mean, like, they really made him look real. With a little bit, with the exception of the mid credit scene when where he reveals his face, because that moment was like, yeah, that was like the only part in this movie I felt like where the CGI was a little bit weak, because like when you see, especially the revelation of Knoll's face, it kind of makes you look like, it kind of makes you feel like Knoll is like a video game character, basically when you see his face and everything. But again, they did like what they could, with what they had and everything. They did what they could, the best they could. So I do respect that. Now again, like the strong. I mean, when it comes to character development, like the only character development we had in this movie was Eddie Brooke and Venom. Like I said, the other characters, I mean, again, like I said, they served their purpose, but there was not enough character development. So at least in some capacity they were interesting. But I can see most people not finding it in the same way as I do. Because like sometimes in movies they just give you enough elements to kind of like understand, what type of character they are and everything. Even though I do agree with some people saying we could have got more of them. That's for sure. Now, I've seen some people, including some of my friends, saying that Venom wasn't enough in this movie. But considering the way, I mean, when it comes to full body transformation, that's what I mean. He wasn't like that much in the movie. But considering the way how the story was for the third one, especially when it comes to like, those creatures hunting down Venom, and the explanation why he cannot be like full body, like, Venom and everything, I kind of get the idea like why he wasn't present like full body and everything, like every single time, because because when you look at like his whole full body and everything, like yes, he wasn't that much present like he was in the first two. But again, going with the story, I get the idea why he wasn't like full body present the whole time. But overall, I didn't mind it. Okay, I didn't mind, that most of the time he was just a slimy black head, talking to Eddie Brooke, basically, not being full body, just like, in some special moments and all that. But I didn't mind it, the way how the story went. Yeah, so overall, again, going to my negatives, I would say my only negatives for this movie were that the story was a little bit simple. Especially with having Knoll in it and everything, they could have done something more. I do agree, but like the story was simple. I will agree that some of the character developments in this movie were a little bit weak. But again, when you have a Venom movie, you do have to realize that the only the only characters that will get like way more character development than the others is of course Eddie Brooke himself and Venom. So if you know how the first two movies worked, you're gonna have to expect something like that even in this one. So with that, sometimes, like I said, most of the times the CGI was good, but there were moments where the CGI was a little bit bad. Even though, when I say, wasn't bad, but like it was a little bit off. And that, at least for me, that was just like, it was just in the mid credits scene when they revealed Knoll's face. Basically, I felt like that was like the only part of the CGI when it kind of felt a little bit weak, but everything else for me personally worked. It was actually well done. Characters, like I said, the only ones I thought were necessary were the Rai Ivan's character and his family. I felt like they were kind of like unnecessary, but even though they were unnecessary, they had some like funny moments in the movie. I will give them that. So besides that, like I said, was it a great movie? No. Was it a bad movie? No. Was it a horrible movie? No. It was a very super fun time movie. That's for sure. Like I said, some of the humor worked, some of them it didn't. But even in the weak ones, you will find a giggle. Like I said, for the third time. And this is a type of movie that basically, when you go to the theater, you just simply turn your brain off and just simply enjoy the fun. And that and that's basically what the Venom movies are. So it wasn't like bombastic blockbuster finale. No, it wasn't. But it was a satisfying conclusion. I will give them that. And again, it's a real shame. We're not gonna see Tom Hardy as Eddie Brooke anymore and everything. But the way how that credit scene was at the end, the post credit scene, and connecting it with what Venom said, like this isn't like permanent goodbye, like this is just for the time being. Venom might return. Who knows? Anything is possible. We just have to wait and see. But definitely, it's not going to be Tom Hardy, not anymore. At least for now. Who knows? Who knows? There were either even like some plans with Knoll, but we have to wait and see. But so far, with what I got in this movie, I was completely satisfied. Yeah, even though it has its flaws and everything, I still thought it was a super fun time movie. Which again, going to the final thing, which of course is the rating, I will give this movie. Let me think. Venom, I think I gave it like a 6.5. Let It Be Carnage, I gave it like a 7.5, I think, because I liked it more. I will give The Last Dance, I will give this movie a 7. Yeah. I will give it 7 out of 10. And I know there's going to be a lot of you going to say, what? It's my rating. You do your own. Hey, that's what I think about the movie. Anyway, so yeah, I think like 7 out of 10. I think that's a solid rating for Venom: The Last Dance. Like I said, it's not a perfect movie, but I still have fun with it. The strongest part of this movie is definitely Eddie Brooke and Venom and their relationship. Most of the things worked. Like I said, story was a little bit simple. Some characters were like unnecessary. Some characters were off. Maybe that they could have developed them a little bit more. But overall, they served their purpose. Everything in this movie served its purpose. I like the way how they treat Knoll, because like again, when you have a character like that, you can't just simply like throw him, in it. Like for example, Marvel Studios tried to do with Thanos in the Avengers movie, instead of like before they replaced him with Loki, So again, but that makes me wonder, like, are they planning to do like a symbiote war storyline with Knoll and everything? I don't know. Again, so far we can only have like theories, rumors, and all that, So we have to wait and see. But overall, satisfying conclusion. Didn't quite stick to the landing, but again, completely satisfying. So at the end, I repeat, 7 out of 10 for me. I thought this was like a very solid rating for a movie like that. And with that, everyone, I am done. You guys know the tradition, comment, like, subscribe, drop me a like, and everything. Give me your own personal thoughts about the overall, movie. What did you thought about the overall conclusion? What did you thought about Knoll, about Eddie Brock and Venom, the relationship, the other characters, everything about Venom: The Last Dance? Just simply drop it in the comment section down below. And thank you for watching another live review that right now came to an end. Stay tuned for more. And like always, Lord of Shadows, signing off. See you guys next time, or as I like to say, later, fuckers.